Hello, welcome back. It's day-oyabunmi. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Welcome in. So today I want to discuss with you my top tip for new tarot readers, okay? But before we get into that, if you're interested in a personal tarot reading, if you're interested in learning how to read the tarot, if you're interested in Ifa-Orisa related readings, ebooks, online trainings, just some other stuff, check out my website, daydreamalston.com. Okay, so if you are a new tarot reader, this video is for you. In about 2015, I started on this journey away from my previous religion, which was Christianity. And I came into contact with one of my elders, right, who's been really instrumental in my journey around that time. And he noticed how intuitive I was, and he was like, Day, you need to do something, right? You need to have some type of practice to sharpen your intuition, learning how to do readings. And he suggested that I get tarot cards. And, I followed his advice, and I'm so glad I did because I truly enjoy reading tarot. So I'm a self-taught reader, right? I literally just scoured the internet, got a deck of cards and then started reading on my own. And I'm at the point now where I can confidently, do readings for others and myself, right? I know that the information I'm getting is accurate and clear and is going to help me and others, along our journeys. So I decided to write a new ebook, and I have a printout of it here. It's called The Intuitive Tarot Guide by me. So in it, I go through, different things like my story, how I came to read, the history of the cards, how to choose and prep your decks for readings, creating rituals for readings, which is very important in my opinion, reading reversals, reading multiple cards together, sharpening your intuition, and things like that. Excuse me, I'm looking at my notes so I don't forget anything. And I've also included an hour-long video to go along with the ebook, right? So I want to be able to show you actual ways of reading and different practices that I use to read intuitively. So it was a real joy, putting this book together and, putting all of this information in. And it was very important for me to kind of touch on everything that I wanted to know as a new reader, right? And put it all in here. So, we have different examples or samples of the cards and what they mean and things like that. But that's only one part of it, right? There's memorization, right? Being able to tell someone what the cards typically mean based on historical reference. But another big part of tarot is being able to read from your intuitive ability, from your intuitive senses. This is where it can get tricky for new readers because as a new reader, sometimes you might lack confidence and you might not believe in your ability to accurately interpret the cards. Okay? And I know that to be true because when I first started, I remember being like, oh my God, what if I get it wrong? What if my interpretation is wrong? Yada, yada, yada. And you have to realize that at the beginning, it's okay to be wrong, right? It's okay if you get an interpretation wrong. As long as you're not charging anyone for a reading, as long as you're not basing important life decisions on this alone, on tarot alone, it's okay if, your interpretation is wrong. My top tip for new tarot readers is to trust your first impressions when doing readings. So I'm going to do, an example now, right? I'm going to shuffle my cards. I have the Modern Witch Tarot, which I love, which is an awesome deck. And I'm going to show you what I mean about following your first interpretation. So you know how you hear people say the phrase, always follow your first mind? Or if you've had experiences where you went against what you immediately or initially felt and things went wrong, right? It's because we have this internal guidance system, and this guidance system is telling us things all the time. But we've gotten so used to overriding that guidance system because we've been taught to overthink things, right? So that's something you want to be careful with when you're reading, right? As a new reader, you want to get confident in your initial interpretation of the cards. So let me get a couple of cards out, or just one, and I'll tell you what I'm picking up. Now, some of these messages might resonate with you, because the divine knows who's going to watch this reading, or this message rather, and may give messages to you through this, okay? So, let's start with this. This is the World card. Typically, when we're looking at, and you'll learn this if you get the ebook, right? When we look at the World card is the last card in the Major Arcana. The Major Arcana starts with 0, the Fool, and ends with the World, right? This is number 21. So what this means is that we are completely, finishing out, closing out a cycle of life. I personally interpret the World, and this is something you'll learn if you get the book, as a gestation period. I look at this wreath around her and the infinity symbols, like that's the cosmic womb of creation. I feel like this person is in a womb and they're about to be reborn, right, into a new way of being, right? The end of a cycle, the closing of a cycle, and the beginning of a new one. I also, because of her nakedness, see vulnerability in this card. So say I was just, reading this for you. I see for whoever's watching this, there's a good amount of you who are closing out a cycle. Some of you don't even know that a cycle of your life is about to come to an end, but there are others of you who are prepared for it. There's like this energy of new beginnings permeating the air right now, and I'm picking that up a lot. There's something about the divine wanting you to know that this is just like this life experience you're having is just one little blip in the full experience of your soul's divine purpose. Some of you might be going on vacations, traveling by air. Some of you haven't been traveling in a while, like you haven't traveled in a while, probably because of the pandemic, and you're finally getting out and it feels like you're breaking free, breaking out of a prison. Now, with the World and the Four of Cups here, the Four of Cups can represent dissatisfaction, unhappiness. I see that some of you have, I'm seeing a couple of things, right? Now, I'm going to tell you my first interpretations because that's most important. With these two cards, I can read it a couple of different ways, and I know both will apply to someone watching. There's someone who has felt so stuck, so bogged down and unhappy in a current situation, and now that cycle is ending and they get to break free and move on to a new cycle of life. For some of you, you need to take the reins of your life so that you can get to this point of ending the cycle of this. Like you need to do the work, take the steps, set some goals, and put some practices into place to avoid this feeling of dissatisfaction. So for some of you, it's coming naturally. And for some of you, you have to take the initiative. I'm also getting, because I'm trusting my first, and another first interpretation, I'm just sharing with you the stories that are coming to mind, because reading the tarot is basically like conveying stories, right? So another story I'm seeing, do you see this person being handed this cup? And they're not really into it, whatever it is, or not paying attention. The divine is telling some of you, or one of you, that there is something that's going to be offered to you that you would normally turn your head up at, or you're oblivious to the offer, but that offer can actually bring the closing out of a cycle, a completion that you very much need in life. Okay? So that's one example. Let's get a couple more cards. Okay, I'm gonna stay with this Queen of Swords. Some of you have an air sign in your life or coming into your life that has some very clear guidance for you. She can be really like cut and dry. Not a very like gushy or bubbly person. She can be very straightforward, and that might be off-putting to you, but she has something of value for you. All this is me going off the top, right? This is me being confident in my ability to see what this means for someone watching. I'm seeing birds being very important for someone, the air element, the ability to perch up high and see things from a higher vantage point. Some of you are in a situation where you need to see things from a higher point of view. Then we also had the Six of Swords coming out, right? The Six of Swords can indicate moving on from something that was a little tough, and moving towards something that just is smoother, right, and feels better. With the Queen of Swords here and the Six of Swords, what I see is someone receiving some type of insight, idea, communication that sends them in a new direction. This actually could be some type of bad news, like the loss of something being cut off, right? Like, maybe someone's lease is up. Maybe someone's building or job is being sold, and now they're being pushed out, right? And there's a little sadness with this move, but it's okay because it'll end up working out in your favor. Okay, so those are just a couple of examples of how I intuitively read and trust my first mind. Whatever comes to you when you look at these cards, right? When you look at your cards, whatever comes to you, trust that immediately. And as you do that consistently, you'll begin to see that your hunches are right, are correct, and exact, okay? So if you decide to get the ebook, I would be so thrilled to be able to share this work with you. One of the things that I did with the bonus video is in the comments, I'm encouraging communication, questions. If you have any questions that you post there, I'll make sure I go in and answer. So it's a way for us to communicate with each other and for me to support you along your tarot journeys, okay? Thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.